Well, friends, we are tackling the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival in Bristol 2025. So it is from the 28th of May to the 1st of June. And there's going to be a whole bunch of films that myself and Spider-Dan are going to be tackling. Loads of films, including Aliens with a Q&A from Gale and Heard. There's Tremors. There's also Battle Beyond the Stars. And there's loads of other cool things, including Whale God, that I'm very excited about. But this specific recording is actually about the premiere. So the first day, which we just experienced, which is The Big Picture, which is a documentary by Arthur Cauty, and it's an hour long, and it's all about the history of the Bristol Megascreen. So it's one of the big IMAX screens made in the UK, and then in 2007 it got closed because it just wasn't used very much, and then in 2022 it got revived thanks to the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival. And since then there's been loads of events that have really been building up and things. So it was a documentary. It was really well made. I really enjoyed that. But we, going into this, I think we were like, yeah, we'll watch it. It's a documentary, you know, always happy to learn about some things. But I was really surprised how good it was.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely, I think it's top quality. It's only an hour long, so it's quite a reasonable length for a documentary. Again, quite a niche subject, I think. Yes. It's very specific to Bristol and the history of Bristol in regards to filmmaking. And I didn't know Cary Grant was from Bristol.
No, I had no idea. Yeah, it was cool seeing him.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had they were showing images of a little tour and everything.
Is it North by Northwest where he's running for the plane?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, the Hitchcock stuff. So yeah, so they have their own festivals, many festivals. And it's involved with things like Watershed, which again is here in Bristol, and Forbidden Worlds, and 20th Century Flicks, who was a video shop, which kind of
he's the lead projectionist.
Yeah, absolutely. He's now in charge of projecting the entire Forbidden Worlds Film Festival this year, especially. We got speaking to him very briefly, and yeah, it's kind of it's quite amazing. Like they say on the documentary that, you know, all these cinemas are closing and, you know, times are hard and stuff. But to have one that is shut down but was technically fully operational to come back is quite incredible.
In 2022, post-COVID.
Yeah.
Like 2 years after COVID, after so many cinemas have been closing.
Yeah. There's no money anywhere. There's no money anywhere. There's no funding going anywhere.
And because of the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival, it reopened and it's being used now. I think they listed at least 4 other film festivals.
Correct,
Forbidden Worlds is now twice a year. So there's the main Forbidden Worlds genre film festival that we're at the moment, which is in sort of May, June time. And then also in October, they do the Big Scream as well, which is the Halloween, obviously horror-esque one as well. And then on top of that, as you said, there's been a couple of other ones they've been doing. And it's amazing because the aquarium has taken over the building, which houses the IMAX. But when in the documentary, it says about how the IMAX screen was basically just left. Everyone sees this big circle building and they thought, oh, it's the aquarium. They're going to store sharks or something.
It's a tank. Yeah, it's a big round tank.
It was just the cinema screen was just left for like 15 years. Just crazy. That's crazy. 2007 to 2022. 15 years of an IMAX screen. No one was used. Except I think they said the odd...
Chris Nolan will be very unhappy about this. Chris Nolan is like, and Tom Cruise.
Because there's so much IMAX.
They're like, give me all the IMAX screens. We need to get everything on the IMAX screens, all of our films.
Which I can't disagree with because IMAX looks top tier.
Yeah.
But I will say with the thing, I think the only thing that the aquarium used it for was like the odd corporate event, and then they said work dues. Like, could you imagine having no shade on your work due? I'm not going to ask where you work or where I work. No shade on either of our places of employment if our employees are listening. But like, our work dues are fine. But could you imagine having a work due where you got to sit in a 300+ seat IMAX screen just for you?
Well,
how cool would that be?
Well, it's not quite, but our Leeds kind of summit that we have every year in my employ. With Derek Esoteric, as you may well know. It is at an Everyman Theatre.
Oh, is it?
An Everyman Cinema. So not quite IMAX and 3 double-decker business, length. But it is absolutely still, I mean, the seats are pretty comfy, but it's not quite the same experience at this screen, the big, this mega screen, as we're calling it now, the Bristol Megascreen is, I talk about this every time, but the first year I came, I wasn't lucky to be on the press team, but I still went. I still
That was
covered it.
2023, wasn't it?
Yes.
The second year of Forbidden World.
Yes, so second year, and it was incredible. Even then, it's just growing and improving each and every year. More people are finding out about it, and it's just getting better and better each time. And this year is no different. And we're only been here a day.
I know. We literally
Not even a full day.
We literally watched an hour-long documentary, met some of the volunteers, met some that we spoke to,
The
Ty and
organisers,
Dave,
yeah.
and some of the other people.
Yeah, yeah.
We're hoping to have some interviews tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
And we haven't even watched any of the films introduced by Gail Ann Hurd or
No,
anything.
nothing.
We haven't watched any of the major stuff, and already the vibe in the mega screen was just incredible. And all people were so friendly.
It's your first experience, so that's
At
what I
a
want
film festival as well.
Yeah,
Literally, I've never been to a film festival as well, and it was. I think one of the things I've been to quite a few Comic Cons. I know it's not quite the same thing, but I think when you are someone like us who is not someone who's really into sport, who's not really someone who's into mainstream stuff in air quotes. We love movies. I love music. I've been to a lot of gigs. I've been to a lot of music festivals. I've been to loads of them. But I think when you go to Comic Con, Star Wars Celebration, or film festivals, when you go to an area where it's primarily the majority of people there are nerds, not in a derogatory way. I identify as a nerd. When you go into a place that there's a lot of nerds and they all are just passionate about enjoying film, it's not the trolls on the internet that want to hate everything, especially where Forbidden World is specifically like a genre film festival.
Yes.
The whole point of it is there's a lot of films here that are kind of not crap, but there's films which
just
are very...
you wait, Mike. Just you wait.
Maybe I'll change my tune on that. But there's films which are not considered amazing in certain respects, or very specific taste.
Yeah.
And I think that when you go into an environment where you have people who are just thrilled to watch things that are different, or stuff that they've seen when they were
open
younger.
to experience.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think Comic Cons are like that. I think certain Comic Cons now have become so big. It is kind of mainstream, but especially when you go to smaller conventions, when you go to those places, the only people who go to small film festivals, small conventions, are people who are passionate about it, People who really want to see specific types of film, who are passionate about supporting independent creators, independent business people, and tonight, today, the first day of Forbidden World Film Festival was just an hour-long documentary just about the history of the mega screen. And I'd say 80-90% capacity.
Easy,
yeah. Like genuinely,
I did not expect the turnout for this hour documentary that we got.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show the audience they've cultivated over these years, the fandom.
Yeah,
100%. They're there, they're baked in now, they're ready, and people know about it, and it gets bigger and bigger. And again, they're pretty much sold out, I think, of all their day tickets now.
They have done,
yeah.
I checked yesterday.
So they've sold out of all the day tickets. So it's working. Whatever they're doing, it's working. And again, there will be still some tickets probably available for single screenings if you want to.
Not for Aliens, not for Tremors, not for anything with Gail Ann Hurd.
Yeah, all the Gail Ann Hurd stuff's gone because she's immense and really, really popular. But again, it's working, and it goes to show the work that the organisers have put in, the organisation and the hours of dedication and time. And I'm really looking forward to see what kind of introductions we get, video introductions and in-person introductions. I always find that really fun and really interesting.
It's unique because you don't get that from going to anything. You go to a cinema, you go watch it at home, you don't get a person going there and telling you about their experiences. And even a lot of these are going to be opening up to Q&A. The Gail Ann Hurd, there's 3 films, which is Aliens, Tremors, and Battle Beyond the Stars. She's going to be there and answering questions from the audience. So you cannot get that anywhere else. Yeah. It's only at Forbidden World film festivals, and if she does any other festival attendances, I'm not sure of.
Yeah,
but you can't get that.
I don't believe so, because she retired, I think, I want to say in 2018. Because me and Dan covered one of her last films. I think her last film. that she produced.
She's in her late 60s now, isn't she?
Yeah.
And she was producing Walking Dead. The Incredible Hulk, Punisher movie. A lot of James Cameron works. It was just incredible.
The Abyss, which I think is something they
I think it's the only James Cameron film I haven't seen.
Yeah, I've not seen it either. But I think the reason they couldn't, there was a big post that Forbidden Worlds put out because they knew people were going to be like, why are you not showing this? Why are you not showing this? Why are you not showing this? And they were like, we're not showing this because of this. We're not showing this because of this. And I think the Abyss was one of them they considered, but there is a scene where they put a rat in breathable liquid.
Right.
And the UK censors consider that animal cruelty, so that's why they're unable to show it. I believe so. That's what I believe. And that's why I didn't get a Blu-ray or 4K release, which is
right. That explains why I haven't seen it, because I think I've seen all apart from Piranha. I think I've seen all of the James Cameron movies.
Oh, The Spawning. Piranha 2, The Spawning.
That was it, yeah. Because he did Piranha 2, and David Fincher did Alien 3, didn't he?
Yes, yeah.
Which I've seen all that. I think I love that film. But like you've got, Terminator 2, The Abyss, Aliens, and then obviously then it goes to sort of Titanic and Avatar, that kind of stuff. Yeah. But like it's so exciting to be at a film festival because I love being surrounded by people, and I know I keep mentioning Star Wars Celebration. Obviously, I'm a big Star Wars fan, but like when I go there's so much negativity on the internet, especially, and there's so many people. There's people we care about who they like watching the odd movie, but they are passionate about film, and I think that's a difference. And it makes me sound like a bit of a. I don't want to come across like I'm gatekeeping anything. No. But it's really just I love film. I love movies. And so do a lot of people listening here. Sure. A lot of our friends, mutual people we collaborate with, is they enjoy watching a movie, which and I think in the documentary is quote. I think Ty is quoted saying the whole kind of premise behind Forbidden Worlds is, and you said it before as well. You don't want to watch a film that is boring. Yes. We have watched countless films, separately discussed it, which is like there's a lot of big companies that just churn out movies, sequels, etc. And you watch it and you go 6 out of 10 movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Will I watch it again? No. I'd rather watch a film that I would rate maybe 3 out of 10 that is bananas and off the wall and tries into crazy stuff but doesn't quite land, but is memorable, rather than a film that is all right but just has no impact on me whatsoever.
And we've talked about it before, but I love The Last Jedi for that reason.
Yes.
Because everything that it was setting up in the previous film, it threw out the window. And that felt risky and exciting and new and different. I was like, the second I saw Luke Skywalker throw that lightsaber over I went, holy shit, I do not know what we're going to get.
No one did. Everyone was like, what?
And again, it ruffled a lot of people the wrong way. I can understand why certain people didn't like it. But I found that the most engaging, exciting, because it was the most unpredictable Star Wars film I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And that's why I like it. And yeah, like I've said, I love a really bad film because it takes big swings, it takes big opportunities, and it goes for it. And I think you're right. Like, passion is important. If you're passionately negative, like our friend Angry Andy, that's entertaining, that's interesting.
Yeah, shout out Angry Andy.
And he had a lot of things to say about Memoirs of an Invisible Man recently. So much so, I was like, hold it, Andy. We're going to talk about other stuff before we get to your critiques. Calm down. We'll get there. We're going to get there. And then, but also he can be very positive and very passionate in the opposite direction of things. And that's what I like passionate people talking passionately about anything, be it the romanticy coven and talking about smutty books,
love that.
About dragons. I love it. Because,
shout out to Ria, Jess and Brigitte.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful podcast. And I'll never read those books in my life. I will never, ever read those books. And again, that's not a criticism on the podcast. It's just something I'll never do. However, I enjoy listening to them talk about it because they are so passionate and have so much fun with it in a sex positive way, of course. And yeah, so I'm always, and that's why I love podcasts so much. That's why I love doing podcasts so much, because I want to have passionate people talking passionately about anything.
Yeah, I think that's it. And that's what the encapsulation of the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival is for us, And again, we're hoping to speak to some of the people behind the scenes of Forbidden Worlds Film Festival tomorrow. So please keep an eye out for that on the feeds of Genuine Chit-Chat and on the feed of Spider Down the Secret Balls, on the podcast app and on YouTube, all that kind of jazz. We are recording from our lovely hotel room. But it's really just Dan and I appreciate passion in any respect. My podcast is primarily interview podcast. Dan is primarily about film, but there's a lot of crossover, a lot of collaborations and stuff. But the through line, and one of the reasons that Dan and I get on so well together, is about passion. I interview people who are passionate about their thing. Dan is passionate about the movies. He has secret defenders. He has people who defend films that are often misaligned about stuff. Yeah. We have Clone Wars comparing two films. The only people you can have on your podcast are people who are passionately for or against certain movies. And that is interesting. No one wants a melancholy. No one wants melancholy.
No.
You don't want that kind of film where you go, meh. If you can watch a film which is a melancholy film.
Yeah.
I've said melancholy like 50 times, but like
melancholy.
Yeah.
But even a melancholy film will make you feel
Exactly.
sad.
Yes.
Like it's
I think
supposed to
Garden
make you.
State is
Yeah,
quite like
exactly.
that. I love that movie.
Like there's a lot of depressing films I really like and I feel passionate about. It's a different form of passion, but I think what we're talking about is something that's not even melancholy. It, like I said, it's meh. You don't feel anything about
It's like
it.
neutral.
Yeah, it's just
It's
like
bland,
yeah,
unflavored food,
indifferent,
plain
thing.
rice.
Yeah, exactly. So you just go, it exists. That thing exists.
You come out of the cinema after watching it. There's certain big franchise.
You're not
movies
angry.
where
You're
watch,
disappointed.
Yeah, you come out of like big franchise movies. I won't name any, but like you come out of them and sometimes you go, okay, well I spent 2 and a bit hours watching that. I guess I'm happy I watched it because it adds to the universe, but. That's it. My only joy is that I guess I've read a chapter.
It's such a thin line for me between being fine and then meh.
Yeah,
Such a thin line. Like it takes.
But both are quite. I'd so much rather like, for example, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. A lot of people didn't like that film. That's fair. I really enjoyed that.
I like it
because it's weird and it's different. I love Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
He does weird stuff, regardless of whether or not you like Sam Raimi or not. He's the exact kind of filmmaker I love because he takes risks. He has his own style. He does different things. Not everything he does lands, but I really appreciate the
Very
efforts,
kooky.
I think that's it.
Very kooky, very cheesy.
Exactly.
And like those Spider-Man films, you've been watching all the Superman films from Christopher Reeve. There is no way you get those Spider-Man films without those Christopher Reeve films.
All 3 Spider-Man films follow the exact same trajectory as the Christopher Reeve Superman films. The first was the origin, the second one's losing the powers,
and the third one has Richard Pryor.
I was going to say the third one he goes bad.
Oh, right, sorry.
He has a bad. Yeah, Richard Pryor's not actually in Spider-Man 3, friends.
If only.
I don't know if that make them better. I don't know.
I mean, we could take another character out and put Richard Pryor in there. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
But yeah, the documentary I think was absolutely fantastic, and is a really good introduction to the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival. So once again, it is called The Big Picture.
Yeah.
You probably will only, I don't know if it's going to be on YouTube or where it is, but it's very Bristolian. It's very around Bristol. But if you're anyone in the UK, you'll definitely appreciate it. And if you're anyone outside of the UK, I'm sure you'll still really, really enjoy it because it's really a love letter to film. Yeah. And it's really showing the revival of a cinema with some history behind the cinema around it and the meaning of it for cinema. So again, that is by Arthur Cauty, Cauty. It's an hour long and it was made, I just want to say, it was made so well. It felt like a proper high budget professional.
I could have watched it for another hour, if anything, because I was like, oh, this is amazing.
When it ended, I was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, we're like, oh, it's over. Oh, God. Like, you know, and again, there was a lot of people there that night that were in the film that had helped this journey. It was, again, such a long journey and such a big build-up. And again, taking that, something that's been forgotten about and disused, and again, there was nothing wrong with it. It's still working. It's still operational. There's not really much they had to do, really. They brought in some people that used to work there because originally it was for more kind of educational purposes.
Yeah, so we had the whole history of the Bristol Aquarium. What it was originally built for.
Yeah, at Bristol was the original kind of science.
There's like a walkthrough thing as well. There's like 3 parts of Bristol connected to it.
And there was real animals, but also animals on screen, and they were kind of celebrating the less exotic animals and
a lot of BBC documentaries as well.
Yes, David Attenborough and stuff, and it was fascinating actually. I didn't know the history. I know nothing about the space. I'm not from Bristol.
You're from Manchester. Yeah. I'm from Southampton. You know, it's a couple hours drive for me. It's a lot of hours drive for you. Yeah. So like, you know, it's not a city that either of us are familiar with, but learning more about a city that is so important to film and also is an English city. So again, it is a connection to us because we're from England. It's just, it was the kind of documentary I think that is like, you didn't know you needed to see it till you did.
Yes,
and it was a perfect intro.
And they go all the way back to like the 1930s, where they talk about the Blitz and the various cinemas that were destroyed.
100%.
I think they said there was half a dozen destroyed. I think, if I remember right.
Being for Southampton, there's lots of buildings in Southampton that were destroyed by the Blitz.
Yeah.
So the cities, there's many cities in England which, you know, when the Blitz occurred and Germany was, you know, bombing parts in the UK during World War II, so many areas were affected by that. And it's so interesting. Occasionally I half forget. There's certain places in Southampton I see, I go, oh yeah, that place was bombed during the Blitz. And then when you hear about other cities having it, it's like, oh yeah, you kind of forget in a way, especially because of how old we are and what era it is, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like that has so much historical impact of how certain cities are formed. And again, the modern cinema has been really shaped by those things. And I just think it's so important, and film festivals like this are so great because it doesn't just show like films for the last 20 years or 30 years. It's not just indie films. There are films we're going to be watching that are in black and white. You know, there's films all across the world. There's going to be films from all different eras, and it's so great because I get an opportunity personally where I get to watch more films in this sort of weekend than I normally would do in several months.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much.
Not only will you see classic films from the 90s, 70s, 80s, earlier, but you'll also see brand new films from up and coming Bristolians, Bristolians.
Yeah, the short film.
The short film competition. They're doing it again. I think it was a wonderful edition last year, and I can't wait to see what we have on offer this year. I think they'll be amazing. Such just incredible. Go back if you can find them, or the ones I'm referencing. There was I think No Man's Sky was the winner last year, and it was basically kind of a Wall-E-esque kind of film.
Why'd you say his name? I love Wall-E. You know, Wall-E's my favorite. He's my favorite Disney character.
They created it purely with practical effects as well, which is even more incredible.
Short films are literally, if people often don't realize that, like, people like James Cameron and like Taika Waititi and you could almost every major filmmaker nowadays, you could trace back, and the first thing they made was a short film. This is how filmmakers of the future develop. This is where they come from.
Proof of concept, or just an audition piece for so many directors or filmmakers. That is it. So if they can capture something in that amount of time and with that amount of resources, imagine what they can do with more resources,
studio
backing, the money involved, and that is exactly what that is. So we may well be looking at the next generation of great filmmakers, the next, James Cameron or Catherine Bigelow or, whoever it may be. They may be in Bristol right now, and they may be just about to show their first offering.
Exactly. So we're very excited about the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival. Again, here is also the T-shirt, which is going to be this is going to be the poster of the film festival. So there we go. It's very, very exciting stuff.
Designed by Jim will Paint It. Yes, you're online.
Who is an amazing individual there. So be wearing this, and Dan and I will be continuing to cover the film festival over the coming weeks, really. We're going to try and release as much content as we can while we're here at the film festival, but there are so many films we're watching, there's certainly going to be a little bit of sort of overspill. From the film festival finishes on Sunday. We're not going to get content out.
It's not going to happen.
But we're going to have
too busy for that. We're too busy for that.
And we want to enjoy the film festival as well.
There will be interviews with the volunteers, with the organisers.
Yep.
So
reviews of everything.
Throw those in.
And us just chatting.
Yeah, us just chatting after the day maybe as well. Whatever we can put out as digestible as we can make it, we'll do that, and we'll alternate it between my channel and Mike's channel, just to make sure you're going back to both and subscribing
to
both.
All of the whole picture. There's probably going to be conversations where we're probably going to review one film and then refer to another film. So it's going to be very important. Spider-Man: The Secret Wars, genuine chit-chat on either YouTube, where you can watch the video versions of both of our shows, or on any podcast app, and follow us on social media.
We're very good at show notes, so check the show notes for both of us. So if you've missed one or you want to go back, there'll be a playlist as well.
And you won't need to have seen all the films we tackle, because I can tell you, I've not seen the majority of films we're going to be tackling in this. So we'll be giving spoiler-free thoughts as well as spoiler-y thoughts, but we'll be doing it as a way to not only promote this independent film festival, which we're really passionate about, but also give you guys some wonderful content about some exciting new films and ventures that people are tackling. So please subscribe where you can, like, share, all that great stuff. Follow us on social media.
Make sure you follow everybody else, support everybody else who is involved, the traders, the press team, anybody else that's linking or tagging Forbidden Worlds. Just do it. They're all great people, all really nice. And again, it is building a really genuine, passionate community, which is what me and Mike have been talking about. So please get stuck in, get involved. If you have the money, if you have the time, come and take in a screening. Again, the day tickets are pretty much sold out, I think, as Mike said earlier. So yeah, just take in a screening and just feel the vibe. And then if you want to go to the big screen later this year, you have the opportunity to do that.
October sort of time. So just keep an eye out on our socials, all about that
Absolutely,
sort of stuff. And just support where you can. Just following on social media, resharing, reposting, all that jazz, liking stuff, anything we do, anything they do, support this incredible independent film festival wherever you can.
I'll tell you what I did see, my big fucking head.
Oh, I wondered if you'd seen it in
I saw
because when it did the flashbacks of the other.
Because there was a shot from behind, and because I was low down, and I know what the
I was trying to see if I could see it in the previews.
I know what the back of my head. There was one shot, and I was like, that is definitely me.
Yeah.
Because I've had people take, because I've had previous photos where people are like, "There's a face in the back of your head," and I was like,
it's like a Rorschach
fucking. I was like, "Fucking, that's me. That's 100%." Because that's kind of where I was sat almost every time when I went in.
Very nice.
It was like on the third row, to the left slightly. And and I was like, that's definitely me.
Oh, cool. I'll keep an eye out for that.